Hello folks, welcome to Natashka ASMR on YouTube. Bit of a different video here today compared to all of my previous videos. By different, I mean it's going to be me talking directly out of my dome rather than reading a poem off a screen, editing it together and throwing a bit of Fireplace Ambience in the back. Now, I do still have the Fireplace Ambience in the back because I think that it just makes everything a bit nicer, doesn't it? Especially coming up to Christmas time. Happy holidays to everyone. But basically, I decided that those videos were quite disingenuous to what my personality is actually like. So I wanted to make a video basically just kinda, it's a bit more me. And here it is, here we are. I bought myself 3 books. Alright. Now, these 3 books I've been having a good look at over the past week or so, and they've been absolutely fantastic. Now, I left Ireland at the start of this year, in March, and it's weird, even though you might not look into folk tales and myths and legends while you're living in a place. I think it's nice. It's a nice way to stay in touch with your roots when you move away. So I decided to get these books last week. I've always been interested in poetry, as anyone who's been in my channel has seen over the past few videos. So yeah, here are my 3 books. I'm gonna show them off. All right, I will read the back of each one of them. I'm going to leave. Oh, you know what? Fuck it. See ya. This is the real me. An absolute mess, with no semblance of anything going well. So here we are. Irish Myths and Legends, Gods and Fighting Men, by Lady Augusta Gregory. Now, hopefully you can see that alright with this light shining off. It's quite, the cover of this book is quite reflective, so I think this is the best way that you can see this. Absolutely fabulous book, quite a juicy book, I might add. It's there's a fair bit to it, I must say. Now, if I open it up just a bit, you will see opening page. Irish Myths and Legends are Gods and Fighting Men, the story of the Tuatha De Danann and of the Fianna. Lady Augusta Gregory. It's by W.B. Yeats. Now, as far as I'm aware, W.B. Yeats wrote this book back when he was kicking, Gods and Fighting Men, and this is kind of the revamped version of it. Now, if I just give you a look at the index here, you can see, so we have a lot of books. So book 1, book 2, book 3, book 4, and a lot more in the next couple of pages here. So we have 5 books in part 1, then we move on to part 2, which is about the Fianna, and we have a lot of books. We have 11 books in the Fianna section of this. I was going to read an excerpt from each one of these books. However, I do feel this book needs to be started from the start and read all the way through. So what I am thinking is to keep this book for possible live streams in the future and make it, you know, a regular thing where we read this book from start to finish on a live stream, whether on Twitch or on YouTube. Who knows? Who knows? But we will give it a go. I'll give you a little excerpt from the back of the book. Little reading here. Hopefully you can all see this. It's a bit dirty. It's been used. We'll read it out nonetheless. Lady Augusta Gregory's Irish Myths and Legends are Gods and Fighting Men, as it was first titled in 1904, is an essential collection of Irish myths, legends and folk tales gathered by Lady Gregory from Irish oral storytellers at the close of the 19th century. This book of epic tales is divided into two parts. The first charts the coming of the mythic Tua Dedanan to Ireland, the lives of Manannan and Luke, and the tragedy of the children of Lear. The second part follows the exploits and trials of Finn McCool, the Fianna, Oisin, and the love story of Diarmid and Grania. This is a timeless collection of Irish myths and legends, whimsical, tragic, astounding, and ever familiar, born through the centuries in the oral tradition, and is an essential part of our literary heritage. Now, so hopefully you could all see that now. And so yeah, that's my plan for this book. Okay. So the next book, of course, is my poetry book, the Big Penguin Book of Irish Poetry, edited by Patrick Crotty with a preface, Seamus Heaney. Oh, I do apologise for the glare. It is quite a shiny book, quite a big fucking book. It might add. I'll give you a read of this, the back of this one, if you can see it like this when I change it just so the light doesn't hit it directly. And that moment when the bird sings very close to the music of what happens. From the monks of the ancient monasteries to the Nobel laureates, W.B. Yeats and Seamus Heaney, from Jonathan Swift and Oliver Goldsmith to Eileen Ní Chulnán and Nuala Ní Dhomhnaill. The Penguin Book of Irish Poetry features the work of the greatest Irish poets, as well as an outstanding variety of lyrics, love poems, satires, ballads, and songs. Reflecting Ireland's complex past and lively present, this collection of Irish verse is an indispensable guide to the history, culture, to the history. I'm after losing where I am, lads. Where are we? The greatest Irish poets reflecting Ireland's complex past and lively present, this collection of Irish verse is an indispensable guide to the history, culture, and romance of one of Europe's oldest civilizations. In his introduction to this new Penguin Classics edition, Patrick Crotty explores the tradition of poetry in Ireland, the conflicts the country has faced, and their depictions in poetry, and the historical background of many of these writers. A magnificent anthology, the event. Almost every page contains moments of sheer delight, tablet, of real revelation, a vastly enjoyable store of delights and surprises. Irish Catholic gives us the full measure of this most influential of literary nations, the Daily Mail, edited with an introduction by Patrick Crotty. This book is, without question, the best collection of poems written by Irish people that I have ever seen. If we had a book like this when we were studying in school, I would have thrown it against the wall because I hated the way that poetry was taught in school. But I have grown to have a great appreciation for poetry as I've grown older, and especially after leaving Ireland. It's just really nice. So I will, at the end, open up a random page of this book and read the poem that's on it, and hope that it isn't going to take a lifetime. And then finally, the third book that I got is the Anthology of Irish Folktales. Quite a small book. However, what it does have that the rest don't, it has divided itself into a book based by county in Ireland. Now, for anyone who doesn't know the geography of Ireland, there's 32 counties in Ireland. We have all 32 here. And what this book has done is divided a story or two per county in Ireland, okay? So you can see the 32 counties there, and they're all numbered on the left hand side. And I just think it's absolutely excellent. Now, I am from county number 32, which is down there at the south. If I can get this in the frame, down there at the south. It's the biggest county in Ireland, called Cork. And it is here. The Legend of the Loch and The Mermaid from Mizenhead. Now I'm going to read those two stories because Cork deserves it and I deserve it. And you know what? Everyone here listening, you deserve it. 276 Cork by Kate Corkery. Do you know what? We'll read the first one. Because I don't know how long these are. Do you know, it's not too long. I think The Mermaid of Mizenhead is a bit longer. They're actually not too bad. So yeah, let's give a little read. Okay, I'll try my best to keep them on screen as I run through. But I do apologise if at any point the book is no longer on the screen. As I say, I will get better at this as time moves on. I hope. Maybe I'll never get better at it. Don't know. I'll just continue on producing subpar videoing. Let's have a quick read. Cork by Kate Corkery. The Legend of the Loch. King Cork was an arrogant king, forever boasting about one thing or another. He dwelt in a magnificent palace in a lush green valley beyond the Gallows Green, to the south of what is now Cork City. He prided himself on his gardens and grounds and delighted in showing them off. One morning he looked out and was surprised to see queues of paupers lining up to get water from a spring in the royal courtyard. He called his servant to ask what they were doing there, and was told those people had heard of his boasts. This was the purest water in the world. Not only could it quench thirst, but it was reputed to cure all ills as well, so the poor and sick were travelling for miles to get some. The king was proud to flaunt the precious water, but was not happy that all and sundry were taking such liberties as to carry it away by the bucket load. He ordered a wall to be built around the well, so no one could get near it. It was his private property, for his own exclusive use. From now on, the pure water would be safely locked away from the public. The only person he could trust with the key was his own fair daughter, on whom he bestowed the name Fiorishka, pure water. This delightful princess was the apple of his eye. When she grew up, he planned to show her off at a lavish party where all the gentry from near and far could admire her. When the evening came, there were bonfires crackling, musicians playing, meat sizzling, glasses tinkling. All the guests turned up in their finery and got a hearty welcome. In no time, the great hall was heaving with dancing and laughter. On to the second page, folks. I hope you're enjoying the first bit. We're nearly there, don't worry. Fiorishka was whisked off her feet by a handsome prince who was an exquisite dancer. They moved so well together that soon the whole assembly stopped to admire them and applauded when they finished. The prince was invited to sit at the top table, and King Cork could see that his daughter was blissfully happy in the young man's company. Soon the sumptuous meal was served. There was an abundance of wine that all enjoyed. However, after the vigorous dancing, most of the guests were thirsty, and one of them asked for water. The king smiled. At last, someone had noticed what was deliberately missing from the table. He wanted to impress the assembly by drawing their attention to his most precious commodity. He ordered a servant to bring in the specially designed golden jug. This ornate vessel, encrusted with sparkling gemstones, was ceremoniously placed in the centre of the table. Then he called on his daughter, Fiorishka, to come forward and take the jug to the well and bring back water for the honoured guests. Fiorishka was embarrassed at being asked to do such a lowly task in front of the assembly. She blushed and said, "But father, I would be afraid to go out alone at this hour." The king quickly answered, "I'm sure your handsome companion would be pleased to escort you to the well and back." And of course, the young prince was only too happy to lift up the jug, take Fiorishka by the arm, and lead her out of the hall into the moonlit courtyard. Fiorishka opened the lock with the golden key that she had always worn around her neck. She took the vessel from the prince and stooped to fill it up with water. The bejewelled jug was heavy in her delicate hands, and as it filled, its weight began to pull her into the darkness. She reached out and clutched the prince, and in no time they were both dragged down into the black waters of the well. As they sank deeper and deeper, the water rose up, surged over the high well, and flooded out into the courtyard. It mounted the marble steps of the palace and kept rising higher and higher until it burst into the great hall. Water gushed over the carpets, round her feet. Oh God! Oh, I was going well there. I ruined it. Apologies. Let's try that again. It mounted the marble steps of the palace and kept rising higher and higher until it burst into the great hall. Water gushed over the carpets, round the feet of the fine guests. Lapping and gurgling, it quenched the royal fire. It silenced the music. It swallowed the food on the table. It engulfed the priceless paintings and tapestries on the walls. It overwhelmed the king and all his entourage until every person, dog and cat was completely submerged. The level continued to rise until the palace, the gardens and the grounds were entirely covered over, and the whole valley was filled with water. It formed the lovely lake that we know today as the Loch. Its fresh waters are still there for everyone to enjoy. We are told not to be sad. The prince and princess, the king and all his guests did not die in that great flood. Magically, time stood still and they remained alive to continue attending the same wonderful party night after night. The legend holds that if you stand by the loch at dusk, you might still hear the music playing below the water, and when the level drops in summer, you might also glimpse the tips of the palace turrets peeping above the surface. Only when the golden jug at the bottom of the lake is retrieved will the party finally come to an end. On that day, the water will drain away and the loch will be restored to the lush green valley it once was. What a lovely story that is. Now, I used to live beside the loch when I was in college or university, and I can tell you now, the lush green valleys are very much gone. There is quite a big estate built around the loch as it currently sits. There is another story, the mermaid from Mizenhead, and I don't think I want to bore you with two long stories immediately, so we might take a break from this, jump back into the poetry book, and we'll get a random poem from there, and then to finish off this video we will read the last story of the Cork section from this book, The Mermaid from Mizenhead. So let's put that down. Alright, let's get this back down. Good stuff, good stuff. Alright, I hope you all enjoyed that story. There's one more to come, and a poem. Now, I'm thinking of just picking a random page here, because I'll be perfectly honest with you, I haven't read this book yet. Now, I've read a lot of the poems in the book, not from the book, but I've read them throughout my lifetime. I was thinking of just picking a random page. Now, if anyone's still watching, 19 minutes in, firstly, thank you. Secondly, if there is a page of any of these books, if you want to just type just a random number into the comment section, and I will pick one of the random numbers to read from each book in my next video. Now, what I'm going to do is Little intuition test for everyone of you watching, if you're still watching. When he says stop, I'm gonna stop flipping those pages. We're all going to assume that I'm some kind of magic man. I'm not, but let's assume it. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, that didn't work at all. That didn't work at all. The book's too big. The book's too big. Hang on. Let's do it this way. There we go. Someone says stop. Someone says stop. Someone says stop. Here we are. Right, we've landed on a page that isn't actually the start of a poem. Kidder. How long is this? Oh, whoever said stop here, you picked a big one. So let's get back. Kidder here. Let's see who wrote this book, or who wrote this poem. What section are we in? Might be easier to go back. James Henry, possibly. Possibly James Henry. Now apparently this book has interesting. Apparently this book has kind of synopsis, I guess. Is that the right word? Probably not. Of each of the poets in the book. But I don't know where to find that. So I won't do that today. We might do it the next time, if that sounds good. But anyway, this is the one that someone watching this stopped on, so let's try it. This one over here. Kidder. Thus said or sung, Kidder, the ever young. Journeying, I passed an ancient town of Linden's green, its battlements bore a crown, and at its turreted gates on either hand did fountains stand, in marble white of rarest chiselling, the witch on high did fling. Water that then like rain went twinkling down, with a rainbow glancing in the spray, as it wreathed in the sunny ray. I marked where, 'neath the frown of the dark rampart, smiled the garden fair, and an old man was there that gathered fruit. Good father, I began, since when, I pray you, standeth here this goodly city with its fountains clear? To which that aged man made answer, ever stood the city where it stands today, and as it stands, so shall it stand for aye, come evil days or good. Him gathering fruit I left, journeyed on, but when 1,000 years were come and gone, again I passed that way, and lo, there was no city, there were no fountains of chiselling rare, no garden fair, only a lonely shepherd was piping there, whose little flock seemed less in that wide pasture of the wilderness. Good friend, quoth I, how long hath that fair city passed away, that stood with gates so high, with fountains bright and gardens gay, where now these sheep do stray? And what replied, no, wrong. And he replied, what withers makes but room, or what springs up in verdurous bloom. I can only apologise, guys. Sheep have grazed ever here, and here will graze for aye. Him piping there I left, and journeyed on, but when 1,000 years were come and gone, again I passed that way, and see, there was a lake that darkened in the blast, and waves that break with a melancholy roar along that lonely shore, and on a shingly point that ran out into the lake a fisherman was hauling in his net. To him I said, good friend, I fain would know, since when it is that here these waters flow, Whereat he shook his head, and answer made, Heaven lend thee better wit, good brother, ever here these waters flowed, and so will ever flow, and I in this dark rolling mere. Men fished, and still fish, and ever will fish, until fish no more in water swim. Him, hauling his net I left, and journeyed on, but when 1,000 years were come and gone, again I passed that way, and lo, there stood, where waves had rolled, a green and flourishing wood, flourishing in youth it seemed, and yet was old, and there it stood, where deep blue waves had rolled. Place of pleasant shade, a wandering wind among the branches played, the birds were now where fish had been, and through the depth of green, in many a gush, the golden sunshine streamed, and small flowers gleamed. About the brown and mossy roots of the ancient trees, and the cushioned sward so glossy that compassed these. Here as I passed there met me on the border of that forest wide, one with an axe, whom when I spied, quoth I, good neighbour, let me ask, I pray you, how long hath the wood stood, spreading its covert broad and green, here where mine eyes have seen a royal city stand, whose battlements were like the ancient rocks, and then a place for shepherds' tents and pasturage of flocks, and then, roughening beneath the blast, a vast dark mere, a haunt of fishermen. God, this is a long poem. Whoever picked this one, I've got an absolute juicy one. There was a cold surprise in the man's eyes, while thus I spake, and as I made an end, this was his dry reply. Facetious friend, this wood had ever stood, even where it stands today, and as it stands, so shall it stand for aye. And here men catch no fish, here tend no sheep, to no town markets wend, but I in these green shades men felled, and still fell, and ever will fell, trees. Him with his axe I left and journeyed on, but when 1,000 years were come and gone, again I passed that way, and lo, a town, and spires and domes and towers looked proudly down upon a vast and sounding tide of life that flowed through many a street, and surged in many a marketplace, and urged its way in many a wheeling current, hither and thither. How rose the strife of sounds, the ceaseless beat of feet, the noise of carts, of whips, the roll of chariots, coaches, cabs, gigs, all who keep the last named vehicle we call respectable, horse trampings, and the toll of bells, the whirl, the clash, the hubbub mingling of voices deep and shrill, the clattering, jingling, the indescribable, indefinable roar, the grating, creaking, booming, clanking, thumping, and bumping, the stumping of folks with wooden legs, the gabbling and babbling, and many more, quite nameless helpings to the general effect, dog yelpings, laughter and shout and cry, all sounds of gladness, of sadness and madness, for there were people marrying, and others carrying the dead they would have died for to the grave. Sadly the church bell tolled when the young were burying the old, more sadly spake that bodeful tongue when the old were burying the young. Thus did the tumult rave through that fair city, nor were wanting there our dancing dogs, our bear, our needy knife, grinder, or man with dismal wife, that sung deplorably of purling groves and verdant streams, all where young Damon roves, with tender Phillida the nymph he loves, and softly breathe the balmy moonbeams wreathe, and amorous turtle doves. running out of breath here, guys. We're nearly there, I think. We're nearly there. Our other doleful men that blew the melancholiest tunes, the which they only knew, on flutes and other instruments of wind, our small dark imp with hurdy-gurdy and marmoset that grinned, for nuts have been his brother. And the exile there is one with those. They are part, and he is part, for the sands are in his heart, and the killing snows. Therefore, in those wastes, none cursed us are, each man's tongue is cloven by the north blast, who heweth nigh with sharp scimitar. Such doom each trees, till hunger gnawn, and cold slain, he at length sinks there, yet scarce more a corpse than ere his last breath was drawn. Lovely. Oh, really nice. Absolutely lovely poem there. That was Kidder. Wait. Maybe it wasn't. Interesting. Very interesting. I'm a little confused because My Dark Rosaline was the poem after this one. And that is a poem by James Clarence Mangan, not by whoever I said before, which I think was Henry something, or was something Henry, James Henry. That was James Clarence Mangan. I have done My Dark Rosaline on this channel already, so if anyone wants to listen to that, it should be somewhere there. Also, an absolutely beautiful poem, quite similar to this, in terms of imagery and just absolutely beautiful writing. James Clarence Mangan might be climbing the list as one of my favourite poets. And that is a poem. The Penguin Book of Irish Poetry. James Clarence Mangan. Kidder. Now, I wasn't expecting that poem to go on so long, so I'm thinking I might leave the second poem, or second story, from my Cork section of the Anthology of Irish Folktales, my next video. I hope none of you mind too much that I'm going to do that. But if anyone is stuck around this long, please feel free to drop a like, a comment, and a follow. Tell me your favourite poems. Tell me your favourite myths. They don't have to be Irish. I will at some point move into territories unknown when it comes to reading things. But it won't be today. So I appreciate every last one of you. If anyone has stuck around, if you watched even a second of this video, I appreciate you all so much. And I will hopefully talk to you all very, very soon.